The ground rumbles as Germans Leopard 2 battle tanks conduct their tactical exercises in the fields of Lower Saxony. But this is no ordinary training. The gunners in the tanks could as likely be Dutch as they could be German. 414 Tank Battalion is the deepest integration experiment of the two national armies seen to date. The chain of command is integrated too. Battalion's commander is German, but he receives his orders from a Dutch brigadier general. Both report to the German 1st Panzer Division.
I would consider ourselves as pioneers towards a deeper integration on the European, inside the European and NATO context.
Here is a Dutch platoon leader explaining to a group of German officers in training the workings of a tank. 3 years in operation, the battalion has led to some technical integration between the two armies. The radio systems on these tanks are Dutch, for example, and close joint work required cultural learnings too. The Dutch say they bring an easygoing flavor to the structured German approach.
For the German soldier means there's a decision and we are going to execute it like that. With a Dutch soldier, there's a decision and we're going on to making it better. It's an understanding for each other's cultures, for each other's armies, for each other's leadership, how we do stuff, how we do things.
It's taking the best of both worlds and making each other stronger, he says. But it's also born out of necessity. The Netherlands gave up its tank program in 2011. Germany has now about the 10th of the number of tanks it had at the height of the Cold War.
Over the last 20 or 30 years we gave up a lot of capabilities and capacities with this regard because we thought it's obsolete, but it's not the case.
Schritt 3, Kampf mit der Stelle.
Russia's annexation of Crimea and the outbreak of conflict in the Ukraine was a big wake-up call for the European nations. And this joint approach to defense could be the nucleus of what European politicians call the European Army Project. Battalion's deputy commander says it would take a long time, but he could imagine a European command in Brussels one day.
My personal opinion is that it's very important for the European Union to close ranks, to face our threats as a common threat. Together we stand, together we shield. I think that's the advantage. As a European Union, show the world that we shield together and stand together.
The European army idea has gained traction on the European level too.
We have a real momentum on the question of defense because everybody sees that Russia is investing a lot in our external border. They are building up even missiles with nuclear weapons. They are threatening Europe. And that's why we have to, that's a wake-up call for us. We have to stand up. And our idea is to be pragmatic, to start now with first concrete steps.
I think that the European Army, what was one of the initial ideas of the European Union, and our founding fathers already in the 50s had the idea to create a European defense community. I think that's one of the big priorities for the future. And it should save money and it should increase the collective security of our continent.
There is no concrete plan for how this vision can be organized or governed, for now. But the European Union has made strides in the area of defense cooperation already. This is one of them. Unveiled at the last year's Berlin Air Show, this new generation unmanned drone is a joint project between 4 European nations. It will conduct land and sea monitoring for the French, German, Italian and Spanish armed forces starting from 2025. It could be funded by the European Defence Fund, that is due to receive 13 billion euros in the European Union's next long-term budget. And this is another. Dubbed Europe's first cyber army unit, it is led by Lithuania. This 9-nation unit trains together to be ready to deploy and fix a potentially debilitating cyber breach. Last year, 25 European countries signed up to 34 permanent cooperation projects. But the project leader, Lithuania, is also a nation that borders Russia. Like other Baltic states, it has profited from NATO and its protection after the Cold War. Its foreign minister sounds words of caution about upsetting the main security guarantor.
We have to be careful even in the rhetoric, because some initiatives which are launched, they create more questions rather than answers. And we see that this is already happening in transatlantic relations. We're also experiencing some kind of stress test now.
With 2/3 of NATO's budget footed by the US, analysts say Europe's security has been a de facto US subsidy for decades. And with Donald Trump in the White House, European leaders feel they no longer have the luxury of this guarantee.
In the past, a US president would come to Europe and say, you have to do more, but at the same time we will always be there for you. That was needed because, America's status as a superpower depended on its reliability. Trump doesn't give a damn about reliability. He just wants the money.
And the problem for governments like Germany's is that its citizens are just not that interested in defense. A recent poll has shown that more Germans think the US is a bigger threat to Europe's security than Russia. And so the European army vision could serve an important political purpose.
The European army is one of those projects that, people will kind of instinctively say yes to, because it's a very clean way of talking about the ugly business of military affairs. You kind of Europeanize an idea that people find a lot more palatable when there's a European flag on it.
And it could help Germany with its unease of leading on defense.
From the German perspective, we already learned our lesson that national ways are maybe not the best way to go alone, and we decided never again and never alone. I think the European frameworks gives us internationally the position to have a voice again.
With the heightened political attention, Tank Battalion 414 has to succeed. It will have its tank numbers doubled by the end of the year. And many officers here hope their success will lead the way for more ambition on the European defense.